recorded live.
Good morning, good evening, wherever it may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to the VMware Communities Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast 756. Yeah, my microphone is drifting all over the place today. But on the show today, we have John White, as always. Good to see you in the studio. It's good. Did you make it across the bay?
I did. Today it was a steel gray with a flecks of brown underneath the surface. So
Steel gray and
I don't
flexible
know.
brown. It's been chilly. We've had a sweep of cold weather come in the Bay
Yeah.
Area, so winter is back. In fact, I saw snow reports in Tahoe again this week. So,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, the winter is just not going to end. We had a kind of a fake summer there.
Yeah.
I remember way back when I think it snowed or was wet until June. So I tell people that back in '94 in the Bay Area, it was cold and rainy all the way into June, and then we had a very short summer. So anyway, on the show today, we're going to go VMworld 2019 strategy and content with Cate Hind and Allison Crooker. So they're in the studio. So guys, welcome to the studio. Hey, Facebook out there, nice to see everybody.
Hi, thanks for
as
having
always,
us.
Yeah, very excited. Reg went live this week.
It did. It went live on May 7th.
Yeah, so we're excited about that. We've been doing social all week, and we'll get into why you might want to register to get that hotel done early,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
Because it is open, and when people ask me like, well, why do I have to reg early? There's a couple things that we'll talk about in the show, but. For now, let's do the news, and then we'll jump into VMworld. So, and the news, I know you got a couple things, I got a couple things. I guess I'll start.
Sure, go ahead.
News this week, we announced AWS. AWS is going to be reselling VMC, right? And that's new. So
Right.
again, we've been doing these cloud announcements over the course of the last 4 to 5 months, and this is yet another big one, right? Which is AWS is going to be selling VMware software. So I feel like a book writer, right? Like we're making software, selling it on AWS, and they're excited about that. I mean, we did have some of those announcements about other cloud vendors and what Dell is doing on some of the other cloud vendors, whether it be IBM or Microsoft or others. So that's kind of cool. But you come back to AWS, and AWS is the big guy in the house, and we're excited about that. And
Right.
I'm turning my head on the mic too, just like I'm not supposed to be doing. So that's one thing that was in the news that we wanted to talk about. The other thing that I'm going to just cover every show is the key dates for VMworld, because it is that season. So I'll just go through those, and then we can talk about VMUG as well. So global early bird for both shows, 0507, which now it's 06. It's May 8th, by the way. So that's open. So Reg is open. So go get your early bird Reg done. Global content calendar 06/18/2019. Early bird registration US 06/21. Early bird registration Europe 07/26. Schedule builder 08/16. Schedule builder Europe 09/24. Conference US 08/25 through 08/29, and Conference Europe 11/04 to 11/07. Those are the key dates. So listen every week. We'll just keep talking about them because they're key dates, and you got to know about them. So
Yeah.
John, what's new in the land of VMUG?
Yeah, so as promised, the weekly VMUG report. Right now, the Orlando VMUG UserCon is going on. So if you're listening to this live, you can run out and catch the last 3 hours. Tomorrow, the United Arab Emirates VMUG event is on. That's in Dubai. That's May 9th. Also, May 9th, Southeast Idaho VMUG meeting in Rexburg, Idaho. The London VMUG meeting is also tomorrow, May 9th. That's 10 to 5:15. Oh, wow. That's a nice meaty meeting. And it's listed as EC4A. I actually don't know what that means. Maybe somebody in London can let us know what that means. Wichita,
I'll look at chat.
Yeah, yeah. Wichita, Kansas VBeers is also tomorrow, May 9th in Wichita, Kansas. The Christchurch VMUG meeting is in Christchurch, New Zealand. And it's New Zealand, so it's probably today in New Zealand. And then tomorrow, May 10th, PG VMUG in Prince George, British Columbia. The Louisville VMUG in Louisville, Kentucky. And then on to next week, let me see, May 14th, the Sydney VMUG in Sydney, Australia. VMUG Chile. 14th de Mayo in
It's just
Santiago,
everywhere.
Chile. And then on to the 15th. That's VMUG Vancouver in Vancouver, BC, and Providence VMUG, Warwick, Rhode Island. Not actually in Providence.
Nice.
Interesting. Fort Wayne, Indiana, FW VMUG meeting as well. So,
All right. So get to vmug.com and check out the event schedule.
Yep.
Make sure that you register, join up, and come hang out with us all over. And just I'll do a quick update before we get into the main topic, which is I am going to be at the Pittsburgh VMUG UserCon. I think it's the 22nd of May. They're going to have a hackathon, so I'm going to go up there and do a hackathon. We're going to try to do some Kubernetes on Raspberry Pi hacks, so that should be fun. Kind of try to link it back into PKS Kubernetes on AWS. So that's what we're going to try to do. And if you can't make it to the Pittsburgh hackathon, I can assure you that if we get it working, we will have it at the lab tables at VMworld. So
Very
if
cool.
you want to come do some Raspberry Pi hacks at VMworld, this is another reason to register because we're going to have the code booth there. We have the code sessions. None of that's been announced yet, but I can say that we're going to be doing some of that, and we are going to be building Raspberry Pi Kubernetes clusters, and then we're going to be able to allow you to do that, the workbenches, and then tie your app up into PKS on AWS. So should
Very
be
cool.
a lot of fun there. So I'm looking forward to getting out and hanging out with the guys at Pittsburgh, and I will be doing the Raspberry Pi giveaway sensors as well. So I think I'll have 100 or 100 and some small little display sensors that we're going to be giving away, as we did in Denver and in Toronto. So looking forward to getting out and seeing everybody at the VMUG there. And with that, we can transition to our guests. So, Cate, maybe you should introduce yourself first. You're director of Experiential Event Marketing, I guess is what
I
you should
am,
say. But
yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been at VMware, and what did you do before you came to VMware?
So I've been at VMware coming up for 2 years. So this will be my third VMware, the second that I'm actually actively working. Before then, I was working with Visa. I did 10 years at Intel. I also worked with a small cybersecurity company called FireEye. So I've had a pretty broad range of companies I've worked with, but I've been doing events for pretty much non-stop for 20 years. So a bit of experience there. So as the experiential marketing element is really the sort of the visual, the representation of the event, but I'm also responsible on all the operations side and all the communications and marketing as well.
Yeah. Every year we used to have Linda Britt come in, but now, she's now a VP, and so I kind of see you as the new Linda Britt, right?
Oh,
You're
no,
pretty
no.
much
No, no, no,
running
no.
all of VMware.
No. The content is definitely in Allison's side. We have some fantastic team of people, registration teams as well.
Teams as well. Okay.
I just get involved on the operations, so I'm the one who.
Yeah, this is the
come
one that
to.
I always have to work with, right? Because we do ops stuff all the time, and of course Allison as well. Well, that's good. So 2 years at VMworld, and then this is not your first rodeo, not your second rodeo, probably your 100th rodeo when it comes
is.
to events.
It is my 100th rodeo for sure.
Right. Robin Matlock always likes to say that. This is not my first rodeo. We were talking the other day about that, a couple on my team, and I think this is my 25th VMworld, give or take,
Wow.
because I've been here 12 years, plus Europe, US, and that. So it's getting up there in numbers. And people go, "Are you tired of it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's like being an ice
New
cream
every
vendor.
year.
It's like I like making ice cream cones, right? I like doing this stuff. It never gets old. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's educational, and you have new people joining the ecosystem. You have people dropping off the ecosystem, and you have people that have been there the whole time. So it's just what we do. It's what we do.
It's fun.
So, Allison, tell me about yourself. How long you've been at VMware? What do you do, and what did you do before you got here?
Absolutely. I've been at VMware for a year and a half. This is my second VMworld that I'll be working on. I've been in the event content production business for 20 plus years as well, so it's not my first rodeo either. I've worked previously, right before VMware, I was at NVIDIA, and I was running the content for their GPU technology conference for the last 6 years.
go hang out and do Bitcoin stuff?
Oh,
So
honey.
like-
Lots of sessions on, no sessions on Bitcoin, actually.
Right.
It was all about AI. So,
I see.
yeah, even
Yeah.
though the GPUs were used for a lot of Bitcoin
All right, I'll
stuff.
stop you there. My son does computer science in Carnegie Mellon, and he had to go get AWS cloud services to do his project, and it was getting some 16-way GPU, machine, NVIDIA card in one of the AWS things to do, AI.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
interesting. So you guys
No.
did that. Okay, then you came to VMware.
So then I came to VMware. I'm the director of event content, and for VMworld US, we're in the midst, and Europe, because as you mentioned, June 18th is when we go live with the content catalog. So we're in the midst of selecting the 1,500 or so sessions that we'll be offering this year at both US and Europe.
Right. So I don't know, John, do you feel the stress starting to build yet in your world? Because I know that the three of us are starting to just feel the pressure of I finally told my wife yesterday, okay, leave me alone because the pressure is starting to show up and I actually have to do a ton of work now, right?
Yeah. It's definitely building. This is the first year that I actually submitted for a session. So, the kind of stuff is ramping up, and I'm going, I wonder if it's going to get selected, that type of thing. And it's the first time that I've actually gone through that process. So, very, very interesting.
So first thing on my list that is good because I saw the website. There's a new theme this year, right?
There is.
So maybe we should just talk about that. It's kind of exciting. I actually like the theme, but why don't you tell us a little bit about the theme?
Okay, so every year we try and select a theme that is appropriate both to the location and to sort of the trends that are going on in the environment at the time. So the one we've selected this year is called Make Your Mark. I think we're showing that on the channel.
Yep, VMworld.com.
Yeah,
and,
it's
we put it on the Facebook channel right now, right?
Great.
So you can go
It's
look at it.
really fresh, youthful, and fun. We're trying to make this sort of theme a little bit different. It is about you personally making your mark in your environment, but also bringing some of the information and the education back to your organization. So it's making your mark both yourself personally and professionally. You'll see that theme evolving throughout the event, both before, during, and after, in terms of where we put the placements and the images and how we activate on that theme as well.
Yeah, that's a pretty great theme because if I look at, AWS networking, the whole thing is coming together. It's a much larger ecosystem these days,
Yep.
and you really can make a mark. And there's such a big opportunity across, all of the things that are going on in multi-cloud, AWS, hybrid cloud, to just getting down into storage, vSAN. Yeah, you can choose. It's I feel like I'm at this huge university now. I was in community college and I transferred to the giant university, and there's all these things that you can go spend your time on, and you have to select, but you can. It is about making your mark now and
Yep.
doing interesting work. And I tweeted out Sanjay Puna's tweet this morning where I feel like VMware's done such a great job of moving IT practitioners' careers forward, staying relevant, and you can continue in 2019 to make your mark.
Absolutely right. And you can just go
Right.
into certain content and learn more and expand your own professional knowledge and potentially take that back to your organization as well. So
And that's the focus of our content this year. We heard loud and clear from all of our attendees that what really makes VMworld important to them is learning about having experiences and content that they can take back with them to their offices. It's their day-to-day jobs that they need some help on. So we're not only expanding our technical content, but we're also offering a professional development track this year. They were really well received last year at VMworld, US
right.
and Europe. So now we're calling them out, we're expanding that, and we're going to give them some more content on those topics as well.
That's actually really good because that is one of the challenges in this kind of hybrid environment where you got so many pieces of technology. You almost have to have a career track that says, where do I want to go and how do I manage what I can, because at big university it's about what you select, right, and what you say no to, and where do you take your career, and be selective because there's more than you can consume. So I can see where those would be important from a career management perspective to have those. So operationally, we'll step before we get into tracks. We'll just address the elephant in the room, which is San Francisco versus Vegas, right? We know it's out there. I put it on the list, so we can at least talk. Are there good things about San Francisco? What's our narrative here? What are we trying to tell people?
So let me go back 3 years.
Right.
So Moscone Center, which is in San Francisco, which is our home base, was going through major refurbishments, and we made a decision to pull out for 3 3 years while they were doing those refurbishments. Many conferences actually stayed, but we decided it was the right decision. So there was a lot of actually...
Oh, and thank you, by the way, because
Yeah.
that would have been a mess.
No,
right?
and there was a lot of concerns about moving away from San Francisco to Las Vegas. And we've such a mixed bag of responses going back. People have said it's fantastic. We're back in our hometown. We can really leverage more executives being on situation as well. But of course, there are a lot of people who still like Vegas and are offering, say, why don't we go to Orlando? We, bit like Salesforce and Dreamforce, we like to stay in our hometown. I know it's not quite our hometown, but I think it's really relevant because it just gives us so many opportunities to get more people there, to get more engaged, to get many more technical content as well. So it's a great town. I mean, I've lived here now 8 years from the UK, and I love San Francisco. There's so much to do, so much opportunity with food, and people will enjoy that.
Yeah, I personally think that Silicon Valley is kind of the leadership space. And when you start talking about AI and you talk about self-driving data centers, right, and automation that's controlling that, and it really does. I mean, we have Uber up the street, we have AI, startups all over the place.
Yep.
When you really talk about meeting the experts of the future, Silicon Valley has a high density of that. So yes, it's more expensive, but at the same time, when you run something in Vegas, who you get are the people that come for VMworld, the traditional core. When we do it in Silicon Valley, who you can bump into and who shows up for some of the things are a little bit more diverse, right?
Absolutely.
And so you get what you pay for, right? You're going to get a better content exposure than if you just create an event, go to Orlando. The people that go there are the people that buy tickets to fly somewhere and to go that. So
Yep.
It's interesting.
I can see that.
Yeah, the Valley has this density of companies, startups, small, mid-sized companies that might be interested in presenting content or going to the show that maybe don't actually have the budget to kind of do the conference circuit. Because usually when you do the conference circuit, you don't just decide to go, well, we're going to do VMworld this year. Really, it's a commitment to go, well, we're going to go to AWS reInvent, we're going to go to Microsoft Ignite, we're going to go to Dell Tech World, we're going to go to VMworld. So it's like a commitment that's like 10x the size of, well, we'll just do a local show.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, example of that is we're going to do VMware code sessions, and we're recruiting some cloud native use cases and companies that have done a good job. And one of those that's in the Bay Area is Tinder. Right now, Tinder actually builds a pretty intense app, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they use cloud native services. They do service design application. And so getting them to come up, they wouldn't come to a remote place, but they'll come because they're in San Francisco. You can get Women Who Code, also a place like that, where we have Women Who Code. We have CEOs that can come and talk about subjects that we wouldn't necessarily get to go other places now. We get dichotomy of what do we do in Europe versus what do we do in the US, but then same thing. So it has its advantages. It obviously has its disadvantages. We talked a little bit about, expensive hotels, which is why you probably want to reg early, right?
Absolutely right. So with early registration, you have the opportunity to get access to the hotel pool.
Right.
So that's why we are actively encouraging people, not only the benefit of having a slightly more cost-effective pass cost, but also just the hotel early registration. So make the most of that.
Yeah. And, on our side, me and Corey were talking about, there is this class of social evangelists that come. They're a very small percentage, right? But they're important to us as a community. And a lot of these guys come on their own ticket because, their companies don't send them every year. Some companies will send every third year, but these guys, they want to come because they're part of the social community ecosystem. And what I would say there is that, we me and Corey are talking about, the VExpert party. Maybe we'll do a VExpert hostel. Right, where we're looking at Airbnb, going like, "Hey, maybe we can get an apartment building, right?" And, so I think you could be innovative if you still want to come. If you're one of these guys that your company isn't going to pay. I know guys shop for tickets, the V Brown Bag people and others. There's ways to get it done. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tricky. You're going to have to be a little bit innovative on how to get here. But I guarantee you, it's going to be a good event and it's going to be fun. So you should try to figure out how to solve that. And let us know if you really are desperate. We, as community people, can hook you up with other people, right? I think I have a couple bedrooms. You have to commute up on a train, but there's ways to get here. So you should make that happen.
I have to say, I've been by the Moscone Center since the renovation ended, and I have to say that it's going to be a lot better. than it was before. There was a lot of like running across the street and waiting for traffic lights to stop, and now there's some like overpasses.
Overpass.
Correct.
right?
There's two overpasses, and then there's also just a completely different configuration on the street as well. But the actual building that's changed the most is the south building. It's much lighter, much brighter. It's just a better layout for ease of access. So we're really pleased the way it's developed, and we were glad we waited.
Nice.
All right, cool, good. All right, I'm sure that's been an operational fun for you, but I appreciate all the work you do there. Allison, so we move to now tracks. So we have theme tracks again this year. Do you
Yep.
want to just cover what they are?
Absolutely, and you can also see all this on VMworld.com under the Learn Tracks tab. So you can show that while I'm going over. So once again, we're aligned to the basic solutions framework that VMware is aligned to in terms of our products. So you'll have our hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, modern apps, networking and security, and digital workspace. And underneath those, there are subtracks.
That's all one track?
That's
Just what
one-
you- That's one track? Could
That's
say that
one
again.
huge track.
So that people don't have
Hybrid
to
cloud,
rewind.
24 hours.
Oh my God. How do we- yeah.
Those are 5 distinct tracks.
Yeah.
And under which we
I
have
can't imagine why we need a career advice track when that's you have to. I need a track just to teach me about the tracks.
well, of course, and we actually do have a new V session. So everybody who's new to VMworld gets to hear about how to manage VMworld on Sunday afternoon. So new
Oh,
V
nice.
session.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
nice.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. All right.
Yeah, it's a staple. So
All right, so that's the one track.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
one big, huge track.
Right.
And then we have this other little track called Emerging Trends. And that's kind of our bucket load of where we have ML and analytics. We have our DevOps, which is code. We
Right,
have
right.
Octo, which is our Office of the CTO. We have some of our future trending topics
Yeah.
in that Emerging Trends track.
That's where we live.
That's
Yeah.
where you live.
Right.
Even though we've kind of sort of pulled you out a
Yeah,
little bit, but
little
that's
bit,
where you live.
But in that category.
Yeah, you're kind of like
Yeah.
professional development.
Right.
You're consistent and appropriate to everyone.
Right.
But under those 5 main tracks that I mentioned
Right.
that VMware products are aligned to, we have another 13 subtracks. So there's a lot of great content. There's 700 sessions about in the US, 500 in Europe. Technical as well as some business level. So if you're new to a product, you can take a business 100 type level session. We also have our showcase keynotes, which are wonderful opportunities for people to get an overview of those 5 main tracks that I mentioned.
Right.
To learn more about hybrid cloud from a high level, and then you can dive deep into the subtracks,
Nice. One thing that I noticed with the tracks this year is that we did call for papers, but they were mostly for people at VMware, right? And some grumbling, but not really much. Everybody kind of just moved forward and didn't notice. And what I would say that's good about this is I'll tell you a story on my track, my little history of going to like 20-some VMworlds.
25.
That might have been an exaggeration. I don't think- maybe 10. Anyway, in 2006, I think was my first one, right? And I came back in 2007, and I noticed that they were the same sessions. Like it was, this company implementing vSphere, and this company implementing vSphere, and we used to scan these things and put them online. And I would go through and look at the numbers of, how many people are watching online the videos. This is back when we had a little virtual pavilion. This is back in the old days, where you could come into a little avatar and watch sessions in the theater and all that kind of stuff. But interestingly, how many duplicates they were from customers that had installed. And now as we've matured, right, everybody knows how to install vSphere, right? Everybody knows how to set up vSphere. And if you don't, there's like 500 videos that we've recorded out on YouTube that take you through that and that. So I like the idea that I've always kind of went like, gosh, guys, I think we've had enough install vSphere, 6.7, tweets, blogs, articles, like we've got that covered. And what I like about what we did with the sessions this year is that, we've tried to look at like innovative places where you need to learn the technology. And there's other places you can go get how customers did something for the 6th time. Right? And so I like that approach.
Yeah, and
right?
back to that call, the difference in the call this year, it was really to allow our customers and our partners to instead of having that heavy lift of putting together a full call and then, feeling that they've invested all this time, we really wanted to better match them to the sessions that we already know that we're going to be putting on. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work being done with customers and partners to align them to the correct sessions instead of having them submit stuff that may not be in alignment, and that was for naught. So that was the reason behind it.
Other thing on the sessions that I'm just going to go through my tick of things that I don't know. It's like, wow, I got the guys that are in charge
These are
here,
personal
and I
questions.
have them. Yeah, I have them. They can't escape the room, right? They have to answer. Right?
Door's locked.
Session registration, right? A lot of these things fill up pretty quick, right? So you come into Schedule Builder and you got like 2 days. And if you miss out, which is why I'm repeating the dates every show so that everybody knows when that is. One, it's important that we stick to that date so that everybody understands when Schedule Builder opens up, because they do fill up, but they don't fill up. It's not like a rock concert where they fill up in 7 minutes, right?
No,
So,
the hands-on labs tend to, because
Tend
there's the expert-led workshops for the hands-on labs tend to, because they're small form. They're 40 people, and
Right.
they're very popular.
Right.
But we do time some of those releases. So we've learned our lesson, and we know they're going to fill up. So we hold back some so that the first people fill up, and then we'll release
Right.
some more, and then we'll release some
because I
more.
always wondered on a global perspective, how do we know what time during this date? Like, do we do it at UK, at Greenwich Mean Time 0, or do we do it at New York time?
We do publish the exact
We do.
times,
Oh,
and
do
we do
you?
state which time zone it's in as well.
Yes, we do.
Nice. All right. So
We'll
we're
get
going to
that.
have to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
And then put that on my list.
Yes.
We won't keep it a secret. We'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, all right, good. Because I think that's key. I don't think we've had a lot of feedback from the community on people not able to reg. It's most like they didn't hear about it for a week, or they weren't listening to our podcast, and then they come in and things are filling up.
Yeah. We do also capacity management,
That's
so on
what
the back
that was
end.
where my question was going to
Yes,
go, was
yeah,
to give you
so-
guys a nice softball pitch over the
Well,
plate
thank
so
you.
that you could hit, right?
So thanks. We do a lot of analysis, and we see where we are with registrations, with favoriting that the catalog actually allows you to do. So even before Schedule Builder goes live, we're getting an idea of what's popular, what's not. So we'll make some moves even before that. And then once Schedule Builder goes live, we really get to see if we need to make some moves. And we hold rooms. We
Yeah,
work
I've seen
the
it.
system.
I've seen it where you've opened up other things.
Yeah, or we'll do a repeat. We'll start to say, hey, this is really popular. We don't have anywhere to move it. Let's do it again on Wednesday, and we'll work with the speakers on that.
That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
And
So-
operationally, we can also move sessions into different rooms if we really, really need to grow capacity. We have that option up to pretty much last minute.
Which is what I'll take a moment and say, this is why early registration, and I'll let you go next, why early registration and getting there do that, because you guys are actively managing, and actually services changed based on the trajectory of how many registrations we got, right?
Correct.
What we can do, what session rooms, what halls, even auxiliary stuff changes, and budget changes. Even sometimes I'll get extra money for my program just because we got more registration
Absolutely.
and the event team feels comfortable that we can cover certain features.
And
right?
there's some staples just to add to this. We will have bacon, but there are certain things that we can add to the menu when we get increased registration. So,
Right.
so as an operational team, we're always working to improve the program. We always reinvest back into the program.
Right.
I bet you're pleased about the bacon, aren't you?
Yeah, that made me laugh. The thing that I think I didn't understand was that going into the schedule when it's first released and favoriting things would influence maybe the initial capacity room of that session. So I think that maybe we need to push the word out a little bit more. Is there like a feature where if I favorited a session and it starts to hit capacity in Schedule Builder, maybe 40% or 60%, that I'll get an alert?
That sounds like a technological wonderment, but at this point, no. We
Oh, okay.
have talked to our platform, Rain Focus, which is who we use, about something like that, flagging it, and we're not there yet. So
Okay.
this year, no. Maybe 2020, there'll be something like that
Got
in
it, got
place.
it.
Yeah, and we should talk a little bit about the mobile app as long as you mention that, right? The mobile app is now more and more important. You know, it's pretty much what people use to experience the conference now, right? So you guys are kind of totally in sync with that. You guys are spending a lot of time, and then features that you do plan out sometimes take a year or two just because you have to build it in the mobile app, right?
Yeah, and the good news is we're actually going to be launching it 2 weeks before the event. So that typically we've done a week, and there's been a lot of requests to have it launched earlier. So today we have commitment that we'll be launching 2 weeks before the event. So that does give you the opportunity to look at everything that's going on and to sort of judge your time and how you're going to use your time there.
Right. And one thing I do have to say, as long as we're still talking about sessions with Allison, right? One of the things that if you're giving a session, and I'll tell this to the community members, right? Because we run Brown Bag sessions, we run VMware Code sessions. Those tend to be more community oriented because it's a community program. If you cancel a session, you're a speaker. So Brown Bag has had this. What kind of pain does that create customers, right? Like, because you see the perspective of the back end when, you know, somebody comes in and says, oh, I have to cancel my session. What does that mean to you guys?
Yeah, it's awful. You know, it's a horrible experience.
But why is it? Why is it? Because I don't think anybody understands this in our community.
Well, we advertise, we market, we do a lot of pre-work to make sure that people are registering for our sessions, right? We spend a lot of effort making sure they're butts in seats, as we call them.
Okay.
And then to have a speaker cancel, especially at the last minute, it just leaves those people left high and dry, and we scramble to try to find an alternative for them, you know, to give them something else to do in that time slot. It's a lot of last minute running around trying to facilitate, you know, to the benefit of the attendees that were there.
Right. And I don't think the speakers, the community speakers that understood that when you actually, you know, change, or a lot of them will go, oh, wait, I can't do it at this time because I got something else and I want to do it at a different time. And then what happens is, we have to do all this shuffling on the room and make that work. But what we probably didn't realize is that all the people that registered for that speaker also have to go back through and redo their schedule.
Yep, that's right. That's right. No, it's something that we work really hard to make sure that speakers commit, and when they commit, that they're there. Yeah,
and when we were debugging this, you know, we always look last year, what did we do well, what did we didn't do so well, and we went through that, and that was one of an aha moment for me, was like when I realized it wasn't less, because we experienced it from the schedule builder trying to get the new thing in at the right time and manage all the speakers, but what we really never realized is the pain that it causes the guys that register for the session, right? And you see that.
And I want to just say one other thing to the sessions filling up. You know, we also have an on-site capability that we do have people who book their sessions and don't come. You know, it's a percentage. It's a strong percentage that do that because other things are happening at VMworld, meetings and ancillaries and, you know, lunch or whatever. So I always tell people that you can always come to a session, even if you weren't able to get in. If you really wanted to be there, you should go to the session, stand in the wait line. Chances are you're going to get a seat.
Yeah.
Right. You need to do that early, especially for the really popular ones. Because I would say, you know, I don't know if they limit like the time at which you can line up, but
no.
Sometimes people will, I really only came to the show for this, 1 or 2 sessions, so I'm going to go 30 minutes early for that one session. I mean that I saw that for some VMware Cloud and AWS sessions.
Yeah, I saw that
last
too.
Year.
I saw that too.
I really like that model, though. I really love the lineup model, for overflow. I relate it back to my raising my 4 kids. Palo Alto had these summer classes, and they made you line up. But it was a great democracy thing. If you really wanted something, you could go at 4 a.m. Stand in line, get a chair, sit with your little blanket, have a cup of coffee, right? And you wait your 6 hours and you get your kid into that summer class, right? And I always respected that. They later changed it to where it was a lottery and like it doesn't give you, so to Allison's point, great. It's great that there's overflow. A lot of people get in on overflow, so don't feel too depressed that you weren't able to get into Schedule Builder. And then the line system is the great democracy, right? You can decide how important it is to you, and if you're the 3rd in line, you're probably going to get into the session. If you're the 50th line, you're probably still going to get into the session.
If it's a big session.
If it's a big session. And I know you guys are looking at how full it is and managing room sizes, and you've also duped sessions, right? When they are full, we'll repeat. You'll do a repeat.
And then, of course, you have the content available post the event.
Yep,
So
yep.
that's another benefit you have. If you
Right.
really, really couldn't make it, then you potentially can see that content after.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Good
so
point.
all in all, fairly democratic and it works pretty well. How are your reviews? No one ever gets to hear about this because this is all the backstory stuff.
Reviews of what?
Of the sessions. Like you guys take feedback.
Yeah, we take
right,
a
on
lot of
sessions.
feedback.
How does that play into what you're doing?
It's a huge part of our process. Not only do we take the feedback very seriously, and we then take that and we have this whole red team process where we have everything from, GMs of departments through to, solutions engineers as a part of the process to look at that data and to help us decide how we're going to change to meet the expectations of the attendees. For instance, technical content. Very clearly said from our attendees they wanted more of it. They wanted deeper sessions. They wanted more technical content. So we actually changed our session types. So we are offering 30, 60, and 90-minute breakout sessions. That's new this year. We're also offering workshops, 2-hour plus workshops on Sunday and Thursday. So that's new this year. So we heard what they said, and we changed our session types to meet that. So that's just one example.
Nice.
And then we'll see via attendance whether people vote with their feet.
Right.
They gave they filled out a comment card and said one thing, and we'll see.
We'll see.
We survey
actually-
before the event, during the event, and post the event. And all that feedback is really, really critical for us to grow and evolve the event going forward. Every single year, we aim to improve it. And then to your point, Alison, about red teams, we get a lot of internal feedback. We get feedback from our agencies. So we have mountains of information, and we do actually read every single item and element. We can't always address and make it happen, but we certainly take on board the overwhelming voices that we hear.
I hear the community session results are like off
Really?
the charts, right? Like I just hear that they're amazing.
You
Like,
would
yeah.
say that.
No bias in that comment.
No bias.
And I gotta say that we were part of AWS this year for the first time. V Brown Bag went to AWS, and we had VMware Code at AWS, and we did a little bit of hybrid of both of those sessions. And it was so difficult to work with them. So you guys are like rock stars from a back end perspective because we didn't get to see that. I've done 25 VMworlds, right? And I can't remember, but I went to Unix Expo and did sessions at Unix Expo back in the 80s and 90s, right? So way back when. But I haven't been involved in the back end until AWS, and they're so difficult, right? So you guys do a really good job.
We would love to hear feedback from your communities. Just provide us with the opportunity to hear what they have to say. I don't know if they're making any chats at the moment, but certainly anything that we can do to improve and evolve our events every year, we'd love to get that feedback too. We're getting some now, are we?
No, so one question in chat is how many presenters back out each year?
Well, actually, on the breakout session, a handful, like
Just very
literally
few,
a handful.
yeah.
We do it in a process. So when you're first accepted, you have a chance to back out. And basically that's your out.
Right.
After that, it's really slim chance that you're going to. But things happen. People have emergencies, people have babies. So a handful. But then we find replacements. So
Alison can find out where they live, though.
that's right. That's right. We have their PII.
I mean, things can happen. People can get sick. I mean,
Right,
you have to-
exactly.
you have to
So that
deal
when
with
that in
legitimate
that
things,
handful
right.
are those people.
Right, right.
And there are some presentations which I think have two presenters potentially. So sometimes one can just
Yep.
step in and take over.
Yep.
Right. Okay, good. So we talked about why registration is early is important, right? A little bit hotel and just being able to for you guys to plan appropriately the number of people are there. I don't think there's anything else on that topic, right?
I think that the hotel dollar figure, that's an important thing to just underline. I remember, getting the approval when I didn't work at VMware to register at the last minute. And I want to say that it was $450 a night, and that wasn't outrageous. So the ability to go in early and, swing that by $100 a night can be like a, $500 swing for a person. So
I'm happy to take you through the process. So what we do is we pretty much 3 years ahead, we start to explore space, and hotels is one of the primary things we look at. We make an estimate of how many room nights we can guarantee or how big the block should be. And we work really hard with every individual hotel. We have about 47 hotels here and the same number in Barcelona. And we work with them to say, okay, if we buy a room block, what can you negotiate for us? And we're continuously trying to negotiate. And there are always times when you'll go online directly or through some form of portal and find a cheaper rate at that hotel. Of course, that happens in the natural world anyway. So we're really always working hard with hotels to try and get the best prices. There's no profit in it for us. We literally just pass on exactly that price to them. But it is a very expensive town. We know that.
Cool. On chat, this is not relevant, but I'll just throw it out there. V Brown Bag Talks are now open. So they did open the reg for V Brown Bag Talks. You can go in our chat window at vmw.re/pod. Click on this episode, which is, what episode number did we say it was? 476. Yep. And in the chat window, there's a link to the V Brown Bag Reg. Go get your sessions in, because we're going to be doing this all through Allison selecting sessions, getting everybody notifications. This year on the code session piece, it's important. I'll just switch gears a little bit here. We're actually giving away session passes for maybe 18 or so of the hour-long sessions we're going to be doing. So we have a session hall this time for the code community sessions. So that's interesting. That's new.
Yeah.
How come we get funding? This is awesome.
Well, you mentioned how popular they were last year, and it's a focus of the company too. So we wanted to get that goodness into full form and breakout sessions and give you guys a room and expand the program.
Yeah, and I know that you guys also on the operations side gave us a discount price. So for some of the V Brown Bag sessions, we have a selection that you can mark, and you have to be on the honor system of, can you afford to come, right? Do you need a pass? Do you not? So we get submissions. If you check the box that I need help, then you guys have given us a discount on passes. So I'm not going to mention what the discount is, but it's big enough that I can spend some dollar amount, $20K or whatever, and get a block of passes that we can actually help fund communities. And another thing you guys do from a community perspective are blogger passes. So for the bloggers, because this is the community podcast, we got a lot of bloggers, and I think we give away maybe 80 or some larger number of blogger passes between US and Europe for bloggers, which is also good. So thanks for guys for supporting us on that as well. Europe, we've kind of in my head I always go US everything, US, San Francisco, Europe, Barcelona. We've talked about why Barcelona, but maybe we just touch on Barcelona.
Sure, I'm happy to say why Barcelona. So Barcelona, there's three reasons really. Primarily, the weather is a little bit more reliable than some of the other places that we tend to do this. Barcelona is probably the one location that is big enough, and we've grown again this year. We've actually taken on another hall to accommodate food and beverage. So we are growing and expanding, and the Fira at Barcelona allows us to do that. So that's one of the main things. And again, Barcelona is a fun town.
It is a fun
People
town.
love being there.
Yeah.
They love the opportunity and the choice they have in and around the event as well.
Yeah, it has been. You get used to it, and then you like it, and then you like to go
I'm
back.
back again.
Yeah, it's like back again. But it is a good venue. I would say that the European conference, when we first started, I forget what a year it was, 10 or 11 or something, in 2010. I forget when we did it. Was tiny, right? Like it was really tiny. If you look at it now, it's like
catching up.
They're siblings.
Yeah. It's growing every year.
This is
very
brother and
fast.
sister, brother and brother, whatever. They're peers, right? Like I almost would say that Europe is almost got a little bit higher buzz and vibe to it in the last year. Last year was like, I looked at Europe and I said, wow, we had more community engagement, more people, more People from Europe are very interesting. They bring us cookies and odd chocolates and fun stuff from Europe. But it's always been small, quirky. But now it's not small, quirky. Now it's giant, not quirky.
So the way to your heart is through your stomach. That's what you're telling us. Right?
Yeah, and Julia put the camera over here, which is side view now, which I don't like the side view. I like the front view. See, this is much better than this, but that's just the way life is. But yeah, it's as good as US now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it changes a little bit, but I would almost say that peer to peer, really good. We used to try to sell people on, it's going to be the same. We're going to do the same exact thing. Don't worry, you're not sacrificing, not flying all the way over to US to come to it. But now it's just like it's as good, and now we've grown it a little bit as well, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And from a content perspective, we really do want it to be unique. Like, we really think about Europe. We're not only thinking of Europe content for European attendees, you know? So there's some messages that will carry over,
Right.
but there's some messages that are unique.
Well,
Yeah.
it's 30 more days for developers to get product done and into the pipeline and feel secure that, okay, if we announce it in Barcelona, then we'll actually be able to deliver, right? And I think maybe it was 2 years ago or last year that we got introduced to the idea of airlift. The capacity, the ability of a city to actually land 10,000 people at a single time. And that really like limits the number of cities that you could conceivably go to, right?
And 14,000 is the goal this year.
Wow.
So we are growing. And to Alison's point, I think the interesting thing we've seen is that this year we're really looking at European content, people delivering it from Europe, so that it isn't just us taking the American event and just slapping it into Barcelona. It's actually really evolved.
It definitely has. And to the airlift concept, like we were talking about why Spain year after year, and I think Linda came in and taught us a little bit about this, which is why it's great to have you guys here, because we just learn a little bit about the back end, where we're always in the community front end, what we're doing, what people are doing, you know, how do you run things on things and all that, and we whine about the food, or we whine about why is it in this place or that place, and we just whine because what else are we going to do, right? We're social, but really, when you start looking at the things that you guys have to put together in order to make something, airlift was one of the ones that Linda goes, yeah, sure, we'd like to go, you know, to London, but you know, or places that just logistically you couldn't make it happen anyway, even if you wanted to.
There's very few venues in Europe that can take that capacity.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll shift in. We got about 10 more minutes here. Thought I would just shift into, you know, we're V experts. We're the community. We're the V community. We get things done. I like to call the community like the army. You know, when we aim the army at the battlefield and we win business, right? Growing beyond just our own space, right? What are some of the things in you guys' mind with regards to content or operations or marketing around growing VMware, VMworld into other markets or other spaces? Do you guys have a couple particular target spaces you're trying to bring people in, like networking or security or other things? And what can the community be doing to try to reach out into these spaces? And maybe I should answer that, but maybe you should tell us, you know, from a growth perspective and growing into these other spaces, what do you guys, how's that, how do you tackle that? Or do you try to tackle it?
Well, we definitely do. You know, our content is developed not in a silo, right? So we are infinitely tied to VMware's growth. So our content at VMworld face-to-face event is actually very tied to where we're growing to. What are the new products? We know our SaaS kind of models, they're going to be highly talked about. There's going to be discussed, and that growth strategy is directly relevant to the content that's at VMworld. And then also we have our V forums. We also have our V forums, and we talk about those same topics on our online channels during our V forums. And then we're also looking at VMworld as a 365 kind of content dissemination platform, so that we are looking to grow our content as well in alignment with the VMware growth.
Right. So one of the spaces is obviously SaaS services, right? And doing that. One of the challenges you always have is we have sessions. Do you know if the session guys are actually looking at how to get people access to these things? So you talk about it, but how do I actually, as a practitioner, I come, there's a SaaS service, there's Wavefront. I wonder if these guys are doing trials or some way when you come and engage, whether I can go home and actually try to get some of these SaaS services, because, or maybe it's in hands-on lab. Have you guys seen like SaaS, hands-on lab SaaS services? It's kind of orthogonal, but it does hit me in that we grow into SaaS services, we grow into AWS, and we have PKS and AWS, we have Wavefront and AWS, we have these things. And I used to be able to come home and get online, go to .com and download the thing that I just got. I just got a presentation on. Yeah, right. Exactly. Or if I buy the VMUG Advantage, I get a year trial.
Right.
There is an interesting dichotomy of, as we're selling SaaS services, what does it mean from a try and buy, but also what does it mean when I go to a show and get a tutorial on what that is, or when I go through a lab. I don't think we have answers to that, but it is one of these things that as we transition into these other audiences, right, where we expect to bring people and train them, but if I bring you and I train you with an hour session, but then I can't do anything when I get home because it turns out the VMC and AWS, it costs me $20,000 to set up a VMC and AWS. I don't have $20,000 to go. So I came and I did this session, but now what do I do?
Now what?
Now what? So there is this new learning that we have to do in this education to in my lab to now I purchase which is something that I think we have to learn how to do. And
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
And I don't have answers.
No, you don't have
And I
answers.
really like this conversation. So, that's something that I take note of, and now I go back and I think about that.
Yeah,
We talk about it.
Right, which is now I'm going and I'm starting to learn a little bit about it. What's my next step, right? So that's kind of fun.
Can I ask some questions? Like there was the last couple of years in Vegas, there was a kind of a parallel networking, like a vendor-neutral networking conference that was going on. I don't even remember the name.
Yeah, that was like 1 year. I don't think they did it last year.
Okay.
FutureNet?
Yeah,
maybe.
FutureNet.
Oh, the FutureNet goes on every year.
Oh, it
Okay.
does.
But
All right.
that's very specific. It's a very tailored, smaller conference within a conference. Takes place on Thursday. It's by invitation only primarily, but that's a very specific focus on the networking people. You're correct, and I think what you're asking is, are there other places for people to go once they've heard something that they want to go and just talk about it and discuss it? So we are discussing how do we make sort of a lounge environment, a community environment where people can go after they've heard some content from a
Right.
general session or from a breakout session that they want to just talk about it and meet an expert. So that we have the meet the experts, but we're trying to see how we can evolve that concept to include all of these different new areas for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then here's another question, a difficult question. What kind of metrics would you need to see in order to do a VMworld Asia, APAC?
So we do V forums.
Yeah, I know.
Which are highly successful, and some of those V forums, even the one in Japan, is really large.
Yeah, like 8,000.
They had 8,000
It's
people.
like pretty much the size. Might as well call it VMworld, except it's VForm World.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever.
And one of the branding issues with a VMworld Asia is, and I've done a lot of conferences in Asia, and they're generally free, right?
Okay.
So VMworld is a paid-for registration. vForum is free. So unless that dynamic in Asia Pac changes, where conferences are valued for actual dollar amount or yen or whatever,
Oh, that's
It's a heavy
interesting.
investment.
I didn't know that. That's like
See, another
a new answer.
and the language barrier is a
Right.
challenge. So although
Yeah.
English is our primary language for both countries, I think it's more challenging even in Asia Pac, where there's no common language potentially being used. So having one event as an APJV VMworld would be really difficult to do. I mean, we offer translation for 3 languages in the US, and we are running some sessions in their own languages in Europe. But it's a sort of logistical challenge we are aware of.
It is a heavy lift to invest in translation services,
Exactly.
especially at a technical conference.
it is.
Because
Right.
they have to be so quick. I mean,
Yeah.
the translation is just like simultaneous. It's really challenging.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll loop back to my original question, which I'll answer the part of my question, which is how can community help? The community help. We're going to do a call for blog articles on key sessions. So when you're in Content Calendar, right, and you see a session that you like, that you think you know a lot about, we're looking for blog articles across all of those key content things. And we're going to do a call for blog articles, and then we're going to promote. So if you're a blogger, you're listening to this, and you want to get traffic to your blog, we're going to do a big thing where we're going to be looking for 100 blogs across all those sessions, and then we're going to do social media, because this year my social media team's actually doing the social media for VMworld this year. In previous years, we've used vendors and agencies. This year, Tommy Berry, George Lazios, Josh Milenthal, they're all doing social media for VMworld. And one of the things we're going to try to do is do video snippets. So Julia's going to go record the top 20 session authors. We did this back in 2008. This is the problem of doing so many VMworlds. We've done everything at least 1 or 2 times. But we're going to do that. Plus, we're going to go call for blog articles on those sessions, because what we want to really do is get people excited about the topics, be able to come into a session and know, so it's kind of like pre-work for the session. Then you'll understand more about the session, and when they get into harder topics of the session, you'll get that. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be shooting some videos, and so anything you can do for blogging, do that. If we're going to publish some hashtags out there for adjacent markets that we want to try to penetrate, and we're also going to be doing paid into those adjacent markets to try to increase the awareness of some of the cool things that we've got in SaaS services, which are not traditionally our everything kind of market space. So growing that is going to be one of the things that we're going to do. So that answers my part of what we're trying to do and what we're calling the community to do, which is blog articles, retweet with hashtags. We're going to try to push the envelope of what does it mean in AWS and all these other markets to have the V community show up and make an impact. So we're doing that.
Great.
Excellent.
We're at the top of the hour, so I'll close up with my favorite question. And I'm not going to ask what band we're going to have,
I knew
because
you were
I'm not going to ask you that. I said I wasn't. I was not going to ask you that. I am going to ask you though, and you can decline it. It's fine. It's a perfectly good question to have declined. Which is, do we know where the venue is going to be for the party?
Yes.
Are we allowed to say?
No.
No. Okay. Well, there you go. All right. So
It's linked to the band. We're closer to getting the band name, so
Yeah,
as soon as we have
yeah.
that, we'll make sure you have
Yeah,
visibility.
I know. We have limitations on what we're allowed to do social about all this stuff, so it's fine. We always look at the days back in the San Francisco the Giants Stadium, but that also depends on whether there's a team playing that weekend, all kinds of stuff, and so
We are not in the stadium.
all right. Well,
That's
there you
the
go.
only thing I can tell you.
All right, that's what we can know. We can know that. All right, cool. We are doing the VExpert party this year, just so you know, and we've been looking for. I'll tell you the leading idea. You guys can give us feedback on it. Let Corey know and social. We're thinking about renting an area. We want to do a beach party, but it's going to be too cold to do a beach party. We want to do outside, so we're going to try to rent a parking lot, and we're going to try to rent 5 mechanical bulls and have barbecue with bull riding, right? So everybody can come in and
Make
line
sure we
up
get
and
an invitation.
it's
Make sure there's
'cause
insurance.
The problem with bull riding is that if you have to pay $8 and you fall off and then you're done and you feel like you just got ripped off your $8. So if we have these 5 bulls and everybody can just get back in line, we can have everybody can learn. I don't know though. On the other hand, I'm kind of fat.
Is this
I don't know.
relating
If
to the
if I
rodeo
fall off,
again?
yeah, I'm going to be in trouble. So we're voting on that one. That's our best idea so far. We'll see how it goes. We're also thinking about maybe renting the zoo. They rent the zoo.
Oh,
the
that would
San
be fun.
Francisco Zoo, and then you can go have barbecue outside, and that could be fun.
That might be
Feed the
offensive
fish.
to the animals.
Right.
Well, you're not eating penguin, are you? Hopefully.
I want to have like a run through the tiger cage, and if we don't have a VExpert party where somebody gets killed, I think we haven't done our job. Cate, Allison, thanks a lot for coming into the
Thanks for
studio.
having us.
This was a
Inviting
lot
us.
of fun.
Yep.
We learned quite a bit, and we're really excited about this year, and we hope we can make it better every year. So,
Fantastic.
good.
Thank
Cool
you very much for your
John,
time.
thanks a lot.
Thanks a
Julia,
lot.
thanks a lot. Everybody on Facebook, thanks a lot.
lot.
We'll see you guys again next week. We've got some guests lined up. I forget who it is, but we do have a guest for next week, and I think the week after that too. So keep on going, and then we're going to start showcasing VMworld sessions once content calendar comes out. So until then, Tony Foster, you got any barbecue report?
Don't say
I
thank you.
don't. It's been too wet here in Kansas for me to actually be out and barbecue.
Oh,
We've gotten
man.
4 inches of rain here.
Well, what I would say is that I learned how to make. We do barbecue at the end of every podcast, right?
Oh.
So we open it up with the Color of the Bay report, which is apparently steel mud. What was it?
Still grey and mud?
Yeah, gray mud. And then
mud.
barbecue. What are the yellow thing? Banana plantains. I learned how to make
Plantains.
plantains, right? Which when you're
For
doing
plantain.
jerk chicken, you need plantains with rice
Yes,
and
you
black
do.
beans.
Yes,
and
you
it
do.
turns out the magic to plantains is you let them get completely black. Like you don't buy them when they're kind of green.
No.
They have to be almost rotten. They
Ooh,
look like
no.
they're dying.
They're nice and sweet.
Yeah,
then.
and then you slice them up, fry them, and they turn out perfect. So
Is that the starch turning to
The
sugar?
yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
'Cause I've
yes.
always had
Yeah.
plantains, and they're always more starchy than sweet.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
expect the banana flavor, and I'm like, oh, well, that was the wrong expectation.
yeah, if you get them and they're not super ripe, which is black, then they haven't gotten that sweet. They'll
Yeah.
just be very starchy, like a potato chip.
I'll say for barbecue, my wife did pork ribs and pork shoulder over the weekend, and so
And we didn't get an invitation.
Nice.
yeah, she did it on the smoker on the Traeger, which we got working again, and both cases it was like a 90-minute smoke, and then for the ribs it was a 36-hour sous vide cook.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's I don't know if I can eat ribs any other way.
Nice.
Sounds
All
good.
right, it's 1 p.m.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
We're gonna let everybody go, and until then, have a great week. Talk to you later.